Welcome, everyone, to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we examine mysterious and unexplained events, phenomena, and legends. Today, we are talking to Jeremy Bryant, paranormal enthusiast and host of Paranormal, the New Normal, the podcast on all your major podcast outlets. Strap in as we examine the edges of the unknown. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. To let you know a little bit about us, it seems like we do have quite a bit in common. We started this podcast earlier this year with the hope of trying to explore some of the strange phenomena in our world, in our universe. We talk about strange science. We talk about unexplained murders from time to time, but for the most part, we're looking for the paranormal stuff. We've been talking to a lot of psychics, we've been talking to a lot of ghost hunters, and recently we started looking at cryptid hunters. Your podcast basically sounds like it kind of covers the same range of phenomena. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, so far my podcast has been a lot of ghostly spirit encounters, and I've had two different authors on who wrote books about the paranormal, but other than that, that's just basically what it's been so far. I'm in the process of trying to secure someone who's hunting the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, wow,
nice.
that's cool.
I am so excited about that. And the guest who I had on who I recorded with this week already, her episode drops tomorrow, Eleanor Wagner, she's a ghost hunter. She runs a group called the Lady Ghostbusters out of New Jersey.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess I'd want to know what prompted you to try and attack this particular topic.
Well, I've been into the paranormal since I was in elementary school. I used to go to the school library in 3rd, 4th grade and rent out the book that had like the old, just like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Yeti inside it, like every original cryptid that people knew about in the 90s. It had like the heart and like even like a part about dinosaurs possibly still being in the deepest jungles, like alive, like Macaulay Mbembe over in Africa. So, I mean, just that to begin with got me interested. And of course, all the great 90s paranormal TV shows, Monsters and Mysteries in America, Monster Quest, like all those shows were just great times when you were a kid.
Absolutely. Have you had any paranormal experiences yourself?
Until the last couple of years, never. But I had a UFO encounter a couple of years ago at my now fiance's house in the South Shore, actually in the Bridgewater Triangle. And she lived right in the edge of the Bridgewater Triangle. Her house had tons of weird stuff. It was built on a Native American burial ground. It's right by the rock. It's right by the rock that's in her yard. This huge rock was actually used by the Native American tribe that cursed the settlers. They used that they used that stone to ground corn when they lived there. So that's how close she is to it all. And
what kind of research did you do to figure that out?
Her grandfather, when he bought the house, had a historian find out anything about the property he could, because he had a feeling they started experiencing stuff, and he had a feeling there was something in the ground that they weren't told about.
Yeah.
But basically, we're standing on the back porch there one night, getting the kids to go inside, and my stepson just says to me, "Why are those clusters of stars moving?" And it was just 8 or 9 star-looking. They look like stars, but they were moving at the same speed in the same direction, and there's no way that stars move that fast that your eye can see them. There's no way. So I mean, unless it was just all shooting stars, which I seriously doubt there's 8 or 9 of those together in a cluster just going at the same time, then...
Was it how long ago was that?
A couple years ago. It was, I think
Couple years, so it's pre-Starlink.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pre-Starlink, but but that whole area is just known for UFOs and aliens anyway, because it's the Bridgewater Triangle. I mean,
Right.
My girlfriend had camera footage in a camera she had in her room of something black and big on top of a second-story roof outside her window at night. And her and her siblings have heard things running around their house faster than any animal or human in that area can run. I mean, it would run in circles around the house for like a half hour when the house happened to lose power. That was the creepy part.
Like
So,
it's not a time to come out and play.
Oh yeah, that house is just full of supernatural experiences. Everybody who lived in that house for a period of time has seen shadow people, has seen spirits, has heard spirits like upstairs while you're downstairs. You hear people walking around when you know no one's in a locked room. It's just insane.
So, just for the folks at home who may not know, where is the Bridgewater Triangle?
I always forget the 3 points altogether, but the Bridgewater Triangle is named after Bridgewater, Massachusetts, which is in the center of the triangle. And and Bridgewater is just a town. It's got the Huckamuck Swamp near it in, I want to say it's not Halifax. Well, actually, no, that's right in Bridgewater. And that's the swamp that the Native Americans retreated to before they were slaughtered by the settlers. Yeah. And that's where the chief supposedly cursed the head settler in the middle of the woods, was in that swamp. There's also the Freetown Forest on the other side of Bridgewater in, I want to say Stoughton, but I could be wrong. And it's a national park now, but in the 90s and 80s, it was a huge spot for satanic cults to do things. They arrested tons of people back then for stuff, for doing rituals in the woods, and for a couple murders as well.
Wow.
So the whole area, I mean, the Bridgewater Triangle, I keep saying on my show I want to do a special on it with someone who has really investigated it, because I'm amazed Small Town Monsters hasn't hit it yet. I really am.
Yeah, we've done some explorations or reports on some small town weirdness from our own small towns. But what are some of the weirdest things that you've encountered, that you've heard about on your podcast that you'd be willing to share?
Tough. Well, all right. In my very first episode, I had a guest, Shauna Lindemann, who she doesn't run a podcast or do anything like that. She's just a normal, everyday person, which is why I wanted my podcast to be at first, was just normal, everyday people with their experiences. But it's easier to get people that are podcasters and whatnot to get on there than people who aren't, because they're more comfortable speaking about this stuff in front of an audience. But
yeah, we've had that experience as well.
But she's had a bunch of different spirit-related experiences her whole life. She's always been sensitive to things, and she's always had this special ability, almost, that when people she knows are in the process of dying, she could smell something that relates to them. Even though, when her I believe it was her mother was dying in the hospital or at home, I forget where it was, but she could smell fried chicken, and that was her mother's favorite food, was fried chicken. So she smelled the fried chicken, and no one was cooking in her house. It was just her home alone. And then she found out 5 minutes later her mom died. So,
oh, wow.
And she's a couple different experiences like that. But the most shocking one that she gave me was, she woke up after having surgery. She was sleeping in a recliner downstairs in her living room, and she woke up in the middle of the night because she felt like someone was pushing on her chest. And she actually has a picture of a handprint that was on her chest after that night that is bigger than her hand and bigger than anybody's hand in that house could be. It's actually the cover photo for that episode of my show, is the picture of the handprint on her chest.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's crazy.
You don't have that readily available to show off, do you?
I could. I think it's on this computer still.
So, yeah, that's got to be scary.
Yeah, I mean, she said she was rightfully freaked out, which who wouldn't be? But
well, while you're looking that up, I'll tell you that I have had very few paranormal experiences in my life. And by very few, I think I mean probably less than one. But Kyle, on the other hand, Kyle was hoping to swap some stories with you.
Sounds good.
He's a bit of a ghost magnet, and I'll let him. He was telling some tales the other day with Greg Bakken, or another paranormal hunter. And,
yeah, he does spirit boxes.
Spirit boxes live.
Oh, okay.
which those are a lot of fun to watch if you get a chance to. Have you ever done anything like that with a spirit box or anything?
Oh yeah. It's by spirit box. You mean one of those devices that like is supposed to give spirits voices?
Yeah, it's like Bumblebee from Transformers. It scans
Yeah.
all the different radio frequencies, and every now and then it'll pick up like a phrase or something as it scans through the different frequencies.
Yeah,
And
it comes into the static.
yeah, so you'll ask it a question, and then it will, as it's going through the frequencies, you'll pick up words and phrases here and there.
Oh, actually, I did use one of those 100% because we had paranormal investigators come to this. I bought a house in Gardner, Massachusetts for me, my girlfriend, and her two kids in November of last year. And when that happened, we've had a bunch of experiences in houses, and it's just insane. Like my girlfriend's seen shadow people. Her sister was staying with us for a little while, and she saw shadow people. It was just crazy.
Now I always have to ask when you use terms like that, what is a shadow person? How do you know it's a shadow person?
Well, I mean,
What does that mean exactly?
I mean, as far as shadow people go, my belief is that when it comes to spirits or ghosts, that there are different levels that you actually get when you're talking about ghosts. I think when people are, for lack of a better word, like new or baby ghost, they just kind of show them they can't control their form. I don't believe. I think they I believe they just like are either in the beginning. I think they're white fog, like just white fog mist, and then as they get older as ghosts, they learn to control their ex- yeah, appearance. So they either can be. I think after that step, they become shadow people. What we know as shadow people, which are just beings that look like shadow, but they have shape to them. They may have some features even if they're developed enough. And I think the final stage they can go into is when they look like they did as when they were alive. When you see the perfect picture of them, basically just standing in front of you, like floating by. So
See,
that's
that's
my.
how I see him. I've never seen a shadow person. I only see him as like a translucent actual person.
I have never seen either. I'm one of those people my whole life who wants to see, so he doesn't see. I mean, they always say if you want to see it, you're not going to see it. Only the people who don't want to see it are the ones who happen to just randomly have it come out.
I tried that. It doesn't work for me. I still see him even though I try to block it
That's funny.
every night.
Tell us about the ghost that you see most frequently, Kyle. The one that you said that's kind of been with you your whole life.
The
Well,
one that
oh,
I see every day is he's not like I said, he's not a shadow person. He's just there. He just lately he's the one that stands in my master bedroom closet, looks into the mirror, and as I'm laying in my bed, you can see him standing there, just kind of hanging out, and just he doesn't do anything. He just chills. He likes to open and close the door a lot. He's not malicious or anything, but he just like night before last, he likes to he would open the door and he'd just shut it. Open the door and just shut it. And it's so common in our house that me and my wife and my kids, we don't even react to it anymore. It's just part of it. Like if I leave, the door opens and shuts as I'm walking out. I come in, the door open and shut again. Minutes after I walk in, he just hangs out. He's just my buddy. And that's just the everyday thing. And then there's the other one, like in my house, I've talked about on the other podcast. He's the one that likes to move stuff around, and like we'll put stuff in the closet. Like in my hallway, we have like a hall closet, and that's where we put like our soaps and toilet paper and toiletries and stuff, like the extras.
Yeah.
And what he likes to do is he likes to take those out and he likes to put them on our bed.
Huh.
So like there'll be nobody home. You'll be the only person. I'll hop in the shower. I'll get out of the shower, and then there's 4 bars of soap on the bed. So I have to go put the bars of soap back up, and like nothing crazy. He's just there. Like I don't know. My philosophy is he's not hurting anybody. What's the big deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is with the spirits that are in my house. Because, like I said, we had the paranormal investigators come out. It was a Eastern Massachusetts Paranormal Investigation Group, I think they were called themselves, and 2 of them came out. They're very nice people and everything. They brought the spirit box. They brought the divining rods. They brought their camera with all the different color lights and everything. And we're going through my house. We went through the kids. They went through, got the initial readings and everything, so the electricity didn't throw off the readings. And we went to my kids' rooms. And in my daughter's room, we kind of got some sounds and some words coming out of the spirit box. And we were starting to ask them some questions with the divining rods, which I don't know how well divining rods work. I don't apply full faith to them, of course, but I believe they work to some degree if the ghost is actually willing. But we end up going to my stepson's room, and that's when things got really deep. I mean, we're all 3 of us are in there with the door shut, all lights off, pitch black. And the spirit box just goes crazy with different words. And I'm asking them while they had the divine rods, they told me to ask them some questions. And I asked them, I'm like, do you like all the repairs I did to your house since I bought it? And the divine rods went together, meaning yes. And then all of a sudden, behind me, my back gets ice cold, like ice cold. All my hair standing on end. And I could have swore I heard in my ear the faintest "thank you," and it was
Thank
like,
you for remodeling my house.
basically, because I mean, we believe we believe, and the investigators believe too, that it's the couple that built this house in '64 that are still in the house.
Wow!
Because they built this house, they were the only people that ever lived here, and we believe because they had no children ever, that they stick around now to keep an eye on our children because they always wanted them.
Oh, that's nice. No, it's not like Beetlejuice where they were trying to get you out.
No, not at all. But my girlfriend has chickens, and the funny thing is, we kept hearing the word jungle in the spirit box. And the one investigator is like, does jungle refer to the chickens? And the divine rods went together for yes. So that was the insane part. And they said a bunch of other stuff too about, I don't even remember what the other words were. They didn't really make much sense to anything, but it was a cool experience to have that happen in your own house.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Kyle was sharing a story about was it your brother-in-law?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell us about the brother-in-law who had to leave in the middle of the night.
So in my old place, there was 3 different spirits that hung out. There was one that would pace up and down the hallway. There was a little child that would hang out in my daughter's room, and then there was another one that would hang out downstairs. So my brother-in-law and my sister were there having some drinks and hanging out. We were kind of kicking back, and we went to bed. And we got up in the morning; they were gone. We were like, "What happened? What happened?" We called them. They're like, "We had to leave." I was like, "Well, why'd you have to leave?" They said that spirit that's downstairs in your house was like this far away from my face, staring at me.
It's like House on Hunt or a Haunting a Hill House.
And so they were like, "We had to get out of here. We had to leave." And I was like, they don't mess with you. It's all good. But they're not used to it like I'm used to it. Like when I say I'm used to it, like I said in other podcasts, that kind of stuff is just my daily occurrence, my daily life. It just happens. And it's happened so much that now my wife's used to it and like my kids are used to it because it's actively going on. Like right now we have, I don't know if it's the same one that, like I said, that always hangs out with me. But right now what it's been doing is in the shower, it's been scratching us.
Oh, that's not good.
It, I mean, it's nothing crazy. We're not gushing blood. We don't have to get stitches. I don't see it as a huge deal.
That would still freak me out, man. I mean, you're standing there washing yourself, and all of a sudden you feel a finger run along your ass crack. Like I'd be like jumping up, like what the hell's going on here?
Like I was talking before, in my parents' house. My parents' house has two, and then there's kind of a malicious one that lives in my parents' house. So when you would go to take a shower, you'd sit there, and there was like this, like the shower head comes out, and there would be like this rack thing that was on it that had like soap and toothpaste and like razors and stuff like that. Just your stuff that you brush your teeth in the shower and stuff. And like I'd be sitting there, and the razor would come up, and it would fly, and it would hit me like in the chest.
Jesus.
And I'd be like, okay, time to shave. So I would take it as a hint that it was time to shave. The toothbrush would fly off and hit me in the chest. It's like, hey, I got it. I'll brush my teeth now. And then as soon as you would turn the water off, before you'd ever step out, all of a sudden you look down, and there'd be these huge scratches that would come across my chest. They would go from like chest to like stomach.
That's crazy. That'd be like that long a scratch.
And it was like, and it wasn't just me, it was me. And then my buddy lived there for a long time. It would happen to him. And it happened to everybody in the house. Same thing as everyone kind of got used to it. It was just something that happened. I guess we take it a little easier than most people would.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. That's crazy. I mean, if the spirits in my house actually interacted with me ever, I might see it a little bit differently. I might be getting someone to bless the house or something, because I'm not a person who likes being surprised.
But I'm used to it. You know what I mean? It's part of, they interact with me. Like, I don't really, as long as they're not like possessing anybody or, you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, knock on wood.
let them do their thing. Like, they're just being them. I don't know.
Yeah, basically.
It's so weird to be so nonchalant about it, but like, it just is. Like,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, you basically have Harry the Ghost, life coach.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to Kyle about this, and I don't know if he's taking it very seriously. I mean, he knows the ghost far better than I do. But my thinking is, well, all the scratches, they may be trying to just tell you something. Like, hey, look at this. Look, maybe you need to see a doctor about this part of your body or something like that. And, I don't know.
yeah,
Kyle and I have talked to.
Like, hey,
what's
there's
that?
a spirit scratching me right here. There's a spirit that's scratching me right here. Do you think you can look at this mole? You know what I mean? I'm not,
Yeah, you need to get this mole checked out. Yeah, I've got some spirits in the background. Sorry about that. That's my kids screaming in the background. Yeah, so Kyle has had a lot of these ghost encounters. I have not had any ghost encounters, but the psychics that we've had on the program have told him, hey, you need to get a spirit box, get a medium to come out and see if you can talk to these people and see what they're after, see what they want to tell you. And you ever done anything like that, Jeremy?
Well, like I said, when we had the investigators come out, that's what we were doing basically, was trying to talk to the spirits and see why they're in the house. And I just actually remember this while I was thinking about it. And we did ask them, is there any other presence in the house that doesn't have good intentions? And they actually said no. They pushed the divine rods away, which means no.
Oh, so it was just that couple.
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, it's not anymore, according to them at least. I mean, they could be lying. Who the hell knows what spirits want to do? But I mean, it doesn't see. I don't think they have malicious intent ever. I think they're just watching over the house they built and grew old in, and they just want to be connected to it somehow. Which I don't see how, because they both died in nursing homes or hospitals outside of the home. Which, according to all the lore I used to know, that couldn't happen. But that's also mainly supernatural lore, so I don't know if that's a good source, but I've had recent people tell me that that's not true at all. Like they don't have to die anywhere to be that place. Like they just are attached to it emotionally, and that's why they're attached to it. And
So even
like,
if they don't die in the house, they can still be attached to the house.
Yeah. And I mean, they may have items here like up in the crawl space or something that I haven't gotten the crawl space. I'm a big guy. I can't fit up there. So they could have things up there I know nothing about that they are connected to. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, I've had an exterminator up there because we had chipmunks, but he didn't say anything weird about seeing things. So I don't know. I didn't really want to ask.
So are there any locations in your area that are particularly haunted? I know Massachusetts is one of the oldest settlements in the United States. So there may be a lot of spirits attached to locations in your area, right? And that's why you've got the...
Well, I'm not sure what it's called, but on the other side of Gardner, there's I kind of want to call it a mansion. I kind of don't because it's not really mansion, but it's a nice big 3 or 4 story house. It's huge. It's very 1800 style, and it looks gorgeous because they just redid it all. But it is known for being the most haunted place in Gardner. And it's actually funny because they're opening up a liquor store across the street called Gardner Spirits. But which I think is just perfect. That's just perfect idea for them. But this house has investigating groups going in all the time. People can book like fun. They can go in for a tour of it and like. But even I've had an electrician tell me that he knows firefighters in Gardner that will not go into there alone because the fire alarms get pulled all the time. Even when no one's in there, the fire alarms just get pulled. And no firefighter or cop will go into that building alone because you can go crazy from the things you've seen there, apparently.
Oh, wow.
And as far as this area, I know there's more in this area because people have written books about Leominster and Fitchburg being haunted towns, like in different parts, because they're very old towns. They've been around since the late 1700s, early 1800s, so they have a lot of haunted locations as well. I know there's books written about them. I, for the life of me, can't think of the name of them right now. And I mean, there's also, well, I've heard a story called into Monsters Among Us podcast about Route 2, a state route that runs from Boston all the way out of Massachusetts, and it's the road I have to take pretty much every day to get in and out of my neighborhood. And there was a call about ghosts being on Route 2, like when people are in their cars, they see someone walking across the road and they look back and it's just gone. Like there's no one there. And apparently it happens all the time, especially I believe it's in, it was around, I want to say Concord area, which is kind of like the outskirts of Boston almost. It's when you start going from Boston to farm country. But apparently that road's pretty haunted too. So, I mean, Massachusetts has a ton of, and of course I've been to Salem before, so that's just a whole nother, we could spend 5 episodes talking about Salem alone.
Yeah. The one time I've been to Boston, we drove from Indiana to Boston, and there were some wooded areas coming into Boston.
Yeah.
A lot of mist in that area too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that happened during that trip was somebody passed gas in the van, and it was very stinky. But no one would claim it. No one would claim it. To this day, the person that I believe did it still doesn't claim it.
Did it smell like sulfur?
It did not smell like sulfur. It smelled like just a really stinky, juicy one, you know. And now that I'm thinking about it, like maybe there's some influence of the area there. Is that possible? Swamp gas or something like that?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Massachusetts, everywhere you go, there's swamps. I mean, in the back of my house on the 2 acres I own, there's swamps, and my girlfriend, when we first got the house, wanted to like pave a path around there because we got a dog, and we wanted to make like a dog walking path, like in a circle in the woods. And I'm talking to my neighbor, and he's like, "I would not do that." He's like, "My cousin was out there hunting because we gave him permission to one time, and if he didn't have his rifle in his hands, he would have sunk right into the ground, and the only thing that stopped him from going down completely was the rifle between 2 tree stumps."
Oh, wow.
So it is pure. I mean, I walked back in the woods a little bit this past winter with my stepdaughter just for fun.
Farts are just the ghosts of food you ate. That's what D-League said.
Makes sense.
It is true though.
Very, very true.
I'm
But
sorry, I might have derailed everything there with that little.
It's all
that
good.
little
Going back to you see those shadow people. Now, with seeing those shadow people, have anybody in your house ever had like what's it called, sleep paralysis because of it?
no. That's why. I mean, I don't believe sleep paralysis and shadow people go together. I don't think that's shadow people are seeing. I think that's more along the lines of maybe something. I mean, I don't like using the word demons because I'm not a believer in like heaven or hell, or I mean, I believe in an underworld and I believe in another world, the other world, but I just can't. I don't like to call them by names that people have been calling them by because it just to me is not true. So, I mean, when it's sleep paralysis, I think it's more of a underworld presence than just a shadow person, which is basically to me just a spirit.
Because I know in my parents' house, it would happen to me and my friend a lot, and we didn't call it sleep paralysis at the time because I don't think then it was something that was actually like talked about as much.
Yeah.
But what we called it the big and littles, because what it would look like is you would have this pressure on you and you'd be stuck and you were awake but you couldn't move and you couldn't look around. But what happened was it looked like everything like tunnel vision. And like, like the TV in the front room would look like it was 1 inch by 1 inch. That's how far. And then everything would come up close and everything would like go back. And you were just stuck there and you couldn't move and you couldn't do anything. And
Trippy.
you just kind of have to like suffer through it.
Yeah.
And like that's what we called it, because it was weird because like you couldn't, like I didn't feel anything, but I would just be like stuck. And like I could hear the TV, I could hear everything going on around me, but like I said, it would look like the TV and like the front door and everything was like
a mile away.
Yeah, and it was like this, like 1 inch by 1 inch. That's how big the front door looked, and the TV looked. Everything was like super far away and super small. And I've always tried to figure out what could that be that makes that happen. Like that never happened to me after I moved out of my parents' house. But
Yeah.
it happened to multiple people that when we were living there.
I mean,
it
like
always
I
be
said,
around the same time, right around like 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning. You could almost set your watch by it.
That right there to me is even more proof that it could be something underworldly because that's the witching hour. That's when the most evil things like to come out and play. So it's just been proven.
Oh, yeah. You ever
So-
anything like that happen to you, Sam?
So the craziest thing that has happened to me in my sleep is now that I'm in my late, occasionally I wake up and it feels like my back is broken, but it's just getting older.
It's time for a new bed.
No, I feel that too. I mean, there are times where when I first lay down at night, if I don't lay down in the right position, my back all of a sudden will shoot a jolt of pain through it, like it's like I'm getting shocked by a cattle prod. I mean, it's bad. Getting old sucks.
Yeah, I'm like I keep telling all our guests, I'm the neophyte when it comes to paranormal stuff. Like I have had almost zero experiences with ghosts. I know my wife has like psychic intuition. My mom communes with dead spirits from time to time. The most that's happened to me is I saw a UFO from a distance one time, but it wasn't anything spectacular. It was like, what do they call it? First kind encounter.
Yeah, that's the same thing I had, basically.
Yeah. But
my girlfriend, oh, sorry, but
go ahead.
My girlfriend does feel like she's been abducted before in that house, though. Because
abducted by what?
Aliens, or at least that's what she believes. Because she's woken up and so have her siblings, and well, her and her sister used to share a room when they were in their late teens, early 20s, and her sister told her one night, she's like, one morning she woke up, she's like, "Where'd you go last night? I woke up around 1 or 2 in the morning, and you were gone, and you didn't come back for hours, and you weren't anywhere in the house. And my girlfriend's like, I didn't go anywhere. As far as I know, I'll sleep in my bed all night. And they've had like bright lights shine around the woods in their houses too, and the bright lights hit the windows of their house. I mean, everybody that ever lived in that house says that they've seen things, and it's just insane. I mean, they they used to sneak out at like at 3 in the morning to go get cigarettes out of their mom's car so they could steal them and smoke them. And the things they said you would hear outside, just noises that are not by any animal known to man or any human could make those noises. It was just creepy as hell. I mean, I can go on forever about the stories from that house that I've been told. It's just ridiculous. It's like a poltergeist house, basically.
Yeah. I wonder if there is something about certain places that is a draw for both spiritual and otherworldly activity. It seems like in the Southwest, where we're at, we're in Arizona. That's a big draw for kind of space activity, alien activity. Where you're from, it sounds like there's a lot of spiritual activity just because of the age of the area,
Yeah.
the age of the settlements. But it sounds like you've also got a lot of space activity, alien activity.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever listen to Monsters Among Us podcast, Derek Hayes show, because he has tons of calls over the years I've heard of people from Massachusetts reporting UFO sightings. Like, it's just insane. Bigfoot's a big thing in Massachusetts too. I know the Leominster National Forest is known for having Bigfoot sightings, and that's about 15, 20 minutes away from my house.
Have you ever had any encounters or seen anything?
Oh God, no! I wish. I've wanted to see Bigfoot since I was like in third grade. But like even from a distance and with binoculars, I would love to see him or her in their majestic glory. I mean, to me, it makes more sense that Bigfoot exists than that he doesn't exist. That's my personal opinion. There's just so many different theories that one of them has to be somewhat true.
Yeah, we had a fellow on. What was it, last week, Kyle?
Yeah.
And he's in Arkansas and he hunts Bigfoot down there. Even grabbed some fur off a tree. He said he saw Bigfoot just kind of strolling across the street. In 2 steps, he had crossed the whole street.
I believe it.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for those experiences too. I think one of the things that Kyle and I are eager to do is scout a location and get the spirit box, get some cameras and check it out. Have you ever done anything like that?
Well, actually, I was just going to bring this up when you said cameras because I forgot about this. But when I was in my stepson's room that night and I heard them say "thank you" in my ear, the head investigator was using his camera to take pictures at the same time of me, and in some of the pictures he sent me, you could kind of see like almost a face in between. Like if my arm was like this to my side, you could see them in between my arm and my stomach. Like you could see like a face looking outline there. And I showed it to a couple people in my family, and some of them are like, "Yeah, I kind of do see something like a face there." Some of them are just like, "I don't see anything." But I mean, it's always 50-50 with that type of stuff. But it's creepy. I mean, if they're happy with what I did to the house and they're just going to be cool hanging around, I mean, my girlfriend was up till 3 o'clock in the morning the one night a couple weeks ago, and she started seeing a shadow person walking from the hallway from the kids' room into like the kitchen. That seems to be their path always, is kitchen to hallway, hallway to kitchen. That always seems to be the path they take back and forth. Everybody that's seen them, that's where they've seen them. And plus, her sister, when she was staying Thanksgiving time, she was in the kitchen getting some food late at night, and she swears something was trying to open the door that goes from the basement garage area into the kitchen from the other side. Like someone was jiggling the door handle, but everybody else in the house was asleep.
Wow. Yeah, that's creepy. Have you ever had a photograph with orbs? You ever done any orb photography?
I mean, they say that when you take a video sometimes that dust can look like light orbs too if it's going by. So I don't know if this is really orbs or not, but when we first were working on this house back in October and painting and fixing it up and all that before we moved in, I had my stepdaughter in my stepson's future bedroom, and she was helping me roll some paint on. I was letting her have some fun with it so she wanted to try it. And I took a video of her doing it, And when I sent it to my girlfriend that night, the next day she says to me, she's like, "You know, in that video there was like light orbs floating around Bella." And I watched the video. I'm like, son of a bitch. I mean, we already felt like my girlfriend already had experiences like the weekend we were up here before that with seeing like a foggy mist come out of the bathroom when she opened the door, and there was no shower running, there was no windows open, so it couldn't have come from anywhere. So we already thought the house was haunted that part. So I saw the orbs in the video and I was like, wow, that's insane. They were just like dancing around my stepdaughter.
Yeah, I knew a lady, and she would take pictures, and in the pictures that she would take, there would always be orbs, and then at the other photographs that would come out from the same events would not have the orbs. It was just basically her photography alone would have the orbs, and so she was a firm believer that those orbs. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, orbs are just little specks of light that come through photography. Maybe there's a flash, and some people say, yeah, there might just be light reflecting off particles in the air. A lot of times the reflections are quite dramatic, too dramatic to be accounted for by just simple dust or moisture in the air. And she often had orbs, and it wouldn't be like a ton of orbs. It would just be like, 2 or 3 around her that would appear. And yeah, just kind of a weird experience to go through the orb photography that she had. Just kind of routine pictures otherwise, but they have these kind of spiritual orbs floating around. Yeah, it's another technique that a lot of these paranormal hunters will.
I'll have to dig out the pictures, my orb pictures that I have of me from that haunted, super haunted place that I used to live in. Because it would be the same thing. It would be no matter where I was in the picture, they would be around me. And as I shifted places, they wouldn't be in the same place. They would move over to where I was. And it wouldn't be like 4 or 5. It'd be like almost like a
cascade.
Yeah.
That's interesting, actually. That'd be crazy if you had that many around you. That's a whole community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to dig them up. I'll have to find them. It was quite a while ago, so I'll have to dig them up, and I'll show them off on probably maybe the next episode. I'll show them off.
Yeah, I tried sharing that picture of the handprint, but it said it was the wrong file type and it wouldn't let me do it. So.
Oh, that's a bummer. Speaking of community, so as you have begun your podcasting, what kind of community around the paranormal have you discovered?
I mean, nothing I didn't already know was out there per se, because I've been listening to podcasts forever. I've been reading. I've belonged to paranormal groups on Facebook for years now, so I already knew about the great community of people out there in the paranormal. I did find out it's a lot more of spirits and that type of stuff than anything else, which I never thought was the case. I always assumed I'd be able to find so many more Bigfoot experiences, but it's a hard thing to find people who are willing to talk about Bigfoot experiences. I mean, my last guest that's on tomorrow's show, Eleanor Wagner, is going to try to hook me up with some people she knows that have had experiences with Bigfoot, but it's just so hard. Like, I post in everything, like I'm trying to find actual cryptid experiences, and no one responds to it. I mean, I would love to talk to someone who's seen a Wendigo, a skinwalker. I mean, take your pick. I mean, a dogman. I would love to talk to a dogman. Someone that's encountered dogman. I'm actually talking to the North American Dogman Patrol, I think they're called, NADP, I think they're called. It's a website. They have a map of all different dogman encounters that have been reported. And I'll just tell you, the amount of dots on this map scares the living hell out of me. Because if dogmen are that frequent, even if 50% of those are liars who made up their stories, that's still a lot of dogman encounters in the United States. It's just insane. Yeah, it's North American Dogman Project. I think that's what it is. Because I looked it up the other day because I kept getting the name of the website wrong, so I finally just put it in my show notes for my show with Glenn Ralph from the Glenn Ralph Show.
Yeah.
If you listen to his episode, he's had a lot of crazy experiences too with spirits, and he even experienced his father's soul trying to leave the body right before he died.
Wow, that's got to be very memorable to say the least. Might even be traumatic, or maybe not traumatic, maybe the opposite of traumatic, really comforting.
That's how he describes it, as being a comforting experience, and it was just he took care of his father and mother for a full year before his mother died, and he was taking care of his father pretty much almost full time after that, and he did things that no child should have to do with their parents, really, like just to keep them surviving, and he put up with it all, and he believes it was his father's way of saying, "You're free, go live your life. I'm ready to go."
That's
And
nice.
and he was the only one who could see it. And his sister was sitting in the room next. His twin sister was sitting in the room on the other side of her father, and that he was the only one that saw it. He doesn't believe his sister saw anything, but
That's that. Yeah, I can see that. That would be more comforting than anything. But a lot of times, it seems like these types of encounters get misinterpreted. Have you ever come across anybody who? Are you familiar with Travis Walton, Fire in the Sky?
yes. I've heard that story 100 times. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know who that is.
So recently, he said that as he's thought about his experience over his lifetime, he believes that he misinterpreted the aliens' intentions, or at least their feeling about him. He was quite scared when he encountered them, but now looking back, he thinks that they weren't malicious in any way. Do you think there's a lot of encounters that are maybe misinterpreted?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, look at the Hopkinsville Goblin incident that happened in, I want to say, the 50s or 40s. I mean, they called them goblins, but they really were aliens. Most people believe, and they were just there. They weren't, as far as everybody knows, they weren't reported trying to hurt anybody. But the family was a Southern family, so they all got their guns and started blasting at them, because that's what they were brought up to do when something unusual happens, is you just protect yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could have been misinterpreted. They could have been, who knows what they were there for. They could have just been looking around, trying to see what's going on. But I mean,
So as we're winding down here, I just wanted to know, what are some upcoming projects that you're looking forward to, and what hunts lie in your future?
I don't see many hunts in my future ever, just because life gets in the way. I work a full-time job. I have a family to take care of too when I'm home, and it's just, I'm not an outdoorsy person by any means to begin with. I mean, I'll go on a hike on a rail trail, sure. Why not? But I ain't going trenching through woods. I hate bugs, I hate snakes, I hate all that crap. So, and I just don't like, and especially in this area with all the swamps, you get mosquito and ticks like crazy. I pulled 2 ticks off me already this summer. Had to hire a company to come spray my yard every couple weeks, because we have a dog and we don't want the dog getting ticks.
For sure.
And plus the mosquitoes aren't crazy here. I mean, you could sit in our living room and look out the window and see a swarm of mosquitoes just chilling by the window. It's horrible. But so I try to avoid outdoor stuff a lot. So hunts, I mean, I would gladly go to a location and do like a spirit hunt. I'm totally down for that. I ain't scared of nothing. I mean, I'll be a Ghostbuster. I don't mind. But it's just, I don't have the time, unfortunately, to do that. I mean, doing the podcast is my way of contributing to the world and getting other people who actually do these things voices out there, so they can spread their messages and offer solutions for people who don't know what's going on in their own house. But
speaking of the podcast, where can folks find your podcast?
well, as you said earlier, the podcast is called Paranormal: The New Normal, and it's available, I believe, on 7 or 8 different hosting places now. Spotify.
I saw it on Amazon Music. I saw it on iTunes. I saw it on Spotify. I saw it on iHeartRadio.
It is on iTunes? Oh, I never got the email from Apple saying they accepted it, but that's great. I'll have to make sure to link that to my.
They didn't. All they had, though, I think, was the trailer. I don't know if they had.
They might still be approving it then. I don't know. I'll have to look into that again. But it's on Spotify and iHeartRadio and all the other ones. I mean, if you Google it, you'll find it. And we do now have a Facebook group, actually. I started a couple weeks ago. And every day I give a preview of either a podcast episode or videos or pictures of the person who's going to be on my show that week. Every day I give a preview of that person, so that my listeners can get to know that person more before they hear them on my show.
Well, that's fantastic. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time and sitting with us and sharing some stories. I love swapping stories with people about the weird stuff that they've encountered or that they know other people have encountered. And good luck to you with your podcast. I'm sure it's going to do fantastic. I think you've got 4 or 5 episodes available right now.
I believe episode 5 drops tomorrow, I believe. Or it might be 6, but I think it's 5.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So everybody check out Paranormal, The New Normal with Jeremy Bryant. He's got a lot of great guests. He's covering a lot of very similar topics to what we're covering. So there's going to be a lot of overlap, and you guys are going to enjoy the same stuff. Kyle, some final thoughts?
Final thoughts is keep on trying to figure it out like we are. And if you find anything cool, make sure we're at least the second person you contact to come on and talk about it.
Gladly.
And vice versa. I'd love to come on yours and talk one time.
Definitely got to do that. I'm booking out to August right now, but we could definitely get something in the books.
Perfect. Until then, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.